Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, dear viewers, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Mohammed AlSheef, your host of Elixir of Life from Saudi TV, Channel 2, kicking off another inspiring and informative episode with our distinguished guest, aiming to explore new frontiers and bring you the most up-to-date information related to health. Our program is filled with many inventive and stimulating segments. Most importantly, our topic of this week, the importance of change. Stay tuned for a special episode. Once again, welcome back to Elixir of Life. Our topic of this week is very important, why it is hard to change. Most of us suffer silently from a habit, thought, or emotion that we are unable to change. The focus of this episode is the importance of change. It's a simple word, but it's difficult to implement. Change is essential for surviving. We have a quite interesting agenda. We will discuss with you why do we have to change, why change is difficult, dynamics of the change, what are the practical steps of change. It's my immense pleasure and honor to present my distinguished and esteemed guest, Dr. Taleb Khafaji, is a consultant clinical psychologist. Welcome, Dr. Taleb.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yes. Without further ado, we'll start our topic. It's very important, starting by why do we have to change?
This is very loaded word, that change, and everybody's talking about change, but how we gonna do it and why we have to change? The reason that we have to change, because we suffer, as you indicated, silently. Most of the people, they are unhappy in their life. Most of the people, they have habits that they are disliking this habit. Most of the people are addicted to certain things which they abhor. And most of the people, they do not enjoy life. This is why we have to change.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Very interesting indeed. Now we are coming to the next important question, why change is so hard or difficult?
Okay. The reason that why change is hard, because we have to trace our conditioning back to the early childhood. From 0 to 6, at that age, we are an observer. Children are observer, and children, they are in a hypnotic stage. They don't differentiate between reality and imagination. So whatever things happen in their childhood is stuck in their mind and stored in the unconscious mind for the rest of their life. This is the first reason why change is difficult.
Excellent.
Second reason, the law of reverse effect. What do we mean by the law of reverse effect? A person is obese and they want to change. And they said, I am an obese, I am overweight, I need to change. I don't like my body. I have to change. I need to control my diet. I have a good news or bad news. You are not going to change. because the reason of the law of reverse effect. When we try hard to shed those fats from our body, we can't. The body hold it in, because we are going to struggle between what built inside ourselves, a desire for food. And when we tell our body, I am going to be on diet, the body go into shock. Wow, I am not going to starve. No, I am going to hold into every piece of fat that you want to get rid of it. This is why when people try hard, they are not going to succeed. And if they really understand this concept, we can save a lot of energy. This is the second reason why it's hard to change. The third reason, that most of the things that we develop like habits, because behavior, when we do it over and over, it turns out to be a habit. And those habits is stored in the unconscious mind. And when stored in the unconscious mind, it's going to be very difficult to challenge our unconscious mind. Because Dr. Mohammed, 90% of our behavior, it comes from the unconscious mind. It's like an autopilot. It's automatic thinking. We wake up in the morning, we brush our teeth, we take our breakfast, we drive to go to work, and we do our work in the same way that we have done it a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. So basically, there is no creativity in our behavior. It was left to us between 10 to 5%. This is why very difficult to change, because 90% of our behavior we are unaware of it.
Excellent.
Okay, this is the third reason.
Sure.
And the fourth reason that why change is very hard. It's going to be a struggle here, change, between a willpower and between imagination. And if there is a conflict here, a willpower, which means we take the example of losing weight. My willpower is telling me I need to lose the weight. My imagination is telling me no. I get used to the delicious food that I enjoy, and now you want to deprive me. And when the conflict arises between willpower and between imagination, the imagination always wins. This is why change is very hard. The fifth reason, this is a very hidden reason, and most of the people may be unaware of it. I think sometimes we are feeling miserable about many things in our life, and we want to change them, but we are not able to change them, or unconsciously we didn't want to change them. Why? There is a principle here. They call it a pleasure in displeasure. I am miserable, but I think I am getting used to my misery, and somehow unconsciously I am enjoying my misery. And this is very difficult for people to digest this fact about a human behavior. We know we are unhappy, but we get used to our unhappiness for years and years. And this is why I say, okay, I'm unhappy, but I'm okay. Because change, it takes tremendous energy to challenge our brain. Okay. So these are the reasons that make change is very hard to do.
Can you just summarize these 5 reasons just as headlines?
Okay. So the first one we said, it's the early childhood.
Excellent.
The early childhood is stuck in our mind. There are materials in our mind. Let me give you example, because the viewer, they want to see what that means in the early years.
Example is always great, okay?
Yeah. Example, in the early years, for example, if I grow up in a family and the family is always telling me, listen, you are stupid and you are no good for nothing and you look stupid, I store it in my unconscious mind as a child. And when I grow up and I need to challenge myself, even I succeed in the school, I do achieve a great achievement in the school, in life, but the materials that are stored in my mind in the early years of my life is very difficult to get rid of.
Be resonating his mind.
I keep recycling in my mind. Since my family, which they know me, my mom and dad, they know me very well, and they told me that I am stupid, I am good for nothing, therefore I am good for nothing. And I have seen a lot of people coming to our clinic and they suffer from low self-esteem as a result of the upbringing. They received very negative message from their parents or from the caregiver or the people around them. Okay. And the second thing we said about
the law of reverse effect.
The law of reverse effect.
Yes.
Reverse effect, everybody is saying to us, work hard. If you work hard, you can achieve anything. No, it's not true. The more that you work hard, the less that you are able to achieve. And mainly, let's say, for example, I give you example about obsession. Which we see people, they come to our clinic, they have obsessive thought. And they are so upset and frustrated with the thought that keep occurring to their mind. Let's say cleaning, for example. A person is obsessed with the cleanliness. He needs to go to wash himself. And I have a patient, he goes and spends 2 hours in the bathroom taking shower. And he clean himself at least 10-15 times a day. 100 times he clean his hand. And he is saying, I hate this behavior. I hate this thought. Merely when he or she is saying, I hate this thought, I hate this behavior, the behavior stuck. So we teach them a different technique. How to overcome this kind of behavior, the cleanliness behavior.
Compulsory behavior.
The compulsive behavior, obsessive compulsive. Obsessed with certain things and compulsive to do the thing. For example, there are a lot of people, they check the door. They close the door and they keep checking it over and over. They are unsure whether the door, but they know in their rational thinking, the door is closed. But the habit that ingrained in their unconscious mind telling them that, that you did not close the door. And that behavior bothered them a lot.
Excellent, great.
Okay.
And then habit, the formation of habit.
The formation of habit, because in the beginning, Dr. Mohammed, is very easy. Let's say, for example, I give you one example about one of my patients told me. She said, I came and I was hungry. And I took yogurt and I put nuts over yogurt. It's late at night. She came from school and she put nuts over yogurt and she was basically hungry. And she said, I ate the yogurt with the nuts. Next day, I came and I took the yogurt and I put nuts. I found it a convenience. And she said, it has been 2 weeks. Every day I take yogurt and I put nuts over it. It's become a habit. In the beginning, it's like eating food as well, eating. And you may ask me, Dr. Mohammed, what is the most addictive behavior that people into it? I think the most addictive behavior that we are addicted to our thoughts. We tend to addict to our thoughts, yeah. And in the beginning, the habit is very easy to get rid of it. But when we do it over and over, the habit transforms from the conscious mind, which we are aware. You know, the conscious mind means we are aware about things. Here is a glass, here is a human brain, here is a paper, here is a table. These are unconscious things. The unconscious things that we do it automatically without thinking about it. And let me give you an example. If I ask you, when was the first time that you learned driving? The first time that you get into the car?
Yeah, at age 16.
Okay. And how do you feel at that time?
It was difficult.
Okay.
So difficult, you know, because it was not right now like automatic, or I do it subconscious mind. It was the manual, okay, driving. I used to drive. It's so difficult, okay, because it's a new...
Concentrating.
Yes, concentrating.
And how about now?
Now I do it automatically, autopilot mode, so I...
Exactly. This is what we mean. This example illustrates the difference between conscious mind and unconscious mind. The conscious mind, when you start driving, you are very anxious over the dashboard, the steering, how you manage the car.
Manual,
Yeah. And automatic shifting and manual shifting. And now, since you store it in the unconscious mind, you do it automatically. It's become a habit for you. This is how we really do the things, a formation of habit.
Excellent.
And
great.
when we form it, we need to change it. There are a lot of habits we form every single day. And there are certain habits are not serving us, making us very unhappy people. And when we need to challenge ourselves, it's going to take tremendous time and energy to change it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Examples of habits, good or bad habits?
Eating habit.
Okay.
Eating habit. Thinking habit.
Thinking.
Performance habit, the habit, the way how you do your work, the habit how you relate to the people, social habit. Habit can
smoking,
can be smoking habit, drinking habit. Yeah.
Reaction, how to react to people. You know, some people are reacting with, let's say, reacting anger and knee jerk. Okay.
You develop an anger habit when you. I'm glad that you mentioned anger, because anger tends to be as well a habit. When a person expresses his anger over and over and over, what's happened? He become angry. He develop a habit of anger. And this one is not going to serve him. It's going to raise his blood pressure, and he's going to have, or she is going to have, a lot of enemies if you become angry and frustrated on the drop of the hat, as we say. So these are things that face people, and they say, I'm angry, and I'm a frustrated human being, and I need to change. How do you change? This is when you need really professional help. Sometimes people cannot do it by themselves. This is why they come to us. We can't help them to change the unwanted behavior or undesirable behavior.
Very important. You have illustrated the importance of the change, how difficult is change. Now we want to move to the practical steps. What's the dynamics of change?
Here is the dynamic of change. Here is let me tell you the dynamic, how it's happened. Okay. First, we started, Doctor, with thoughts. Okay, and the thought, this is it transformed to behavior.
So again, habit.
Okay, let's say thought. It started with thought. I am feeling sad. Okay, I am thinking. You start with thinking, not feeling, sorry. Started with thinking. I am thinking sad. And what's happened? My body started to feel anxious and to feel sad. There is a tightness in my chest. There is slowness in my breathing. My hand started to sweat. I'm feeling sad. I became gloomy. Okay, and what's happened here, the body started here become the mind. And the body started to learn this kind of thought. And next time, if I see another things, I become sad again. But sad, the body started to exhibit the same symptoms. And those symptoms agitate my thinking. And the body started to thinking, the mind is reflecting on the body, and it started to go in this cycle of the thinking, emotion, choice, and I go through this cycle of chemical. I become imprisoned to my memory, because the feeling of being sad, it's stored in my unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind is always, because I wrote a book about it called Sly Mind, and the unconscious mind always bring the negative materials to us. Even you are very happy and jolly, and you are sitting with your family or with your friend, and you're really having a great time. But the mind never allow you that. It tend to bring the sadness or the negative things and present it to you and say, hey, wait a minute. I don't need this negative thought. I am not sad. I'm very happy with my family and my friend. But the mind is telling you, no, my job is really to make you miserable. My job is not to make you happy. And we need to understand this fact about our brain, human brain. The job of a human brain is to protect us. But to protect us from what? We are not running in the forest, and we are afraid of animals. We are not facing starvation. We are not in danger. And the mind is want to protect us. But the mind is still the program for million and million of years. This is why we really need to be aware when the mind brings this negativity. That's the job of the mind. And when we get upset, the mind brings this negativity, and we are, as I said, you are sitting with your family or a friend, and you are having a great time, but the mind brings it. When you become upset, then you are riding the horse of the negativity. And what's happened, the mind, since you respond to it, the mind going to bring it over and over. So what we teach people here, when the mind bring you such negativity, please try not to identify with it.
Excellent.
And I always say to my patient, I say, when the mind brings the stream of negativity to you, try not to have a cup of tea with your thought. Which means don't sit down and examine the thought and say, why you are coming to me? Once you get upset and you say why you are coming to me such thought, guess what? The thought keep coming. Because what you resist, I really want the viewer to listen to this. What you resist, it will persist.
Okay.
So when you resist something, it will come to you over and over. It will persist.
And recur, yes.
Yeah. This is the dynamic of change, the dynamic of thinking.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now we will go for a brief report about inspiring story of eagle. To watch more details about this report, stay with us. Once again, welcome back to Elixir of Life. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome my distinguished guest, Dr. Taleb Khafaji, clinical consultant, clinical psychologist, and our episode theme, why change is hard to make. We have paused on the dynamics of change. Now we are moving to a very important question. Before we move to that important question, what's the most important change in our life? Would like you to reflect on the inspiring
the eagle story. Dr. Mohammed, if we do not change, we are going to be stagnated.
Stagnated, excellent.
And when we stagnate, the life becomes joyless, and the life becomes meaningless, and the life becomes very difficult. Because our mission in life as a human being is to be happy. This is why change is very essential for our survival. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the eagle story, it tells us once in a while, as a human being, we have to stop and do some reflection about our life. There was a scholar, there was a psychologist, his name escaped my mind. He used to do this every 5 years. He get together by himself and reflect about his life and make a 5 years plan for change. Even he used to change the place that he used to work in it. He changed his friend. He changed the clothes that he wear. He want to refresh his life. So here is, we learn from animals, in order to survive and to be happy, you have to be creative and to change. Otherwise, you will be hypnotized by your unconscious mind and you live meaningless life.
Excellent. But what's the eagle story?
The eagle story is when when the bird reach the age 30 and he feel the talent, it's become weak. Yeah, and the peak, it's become curved, and the hair is become heavy. So he goes to a mountain top, and the first thing he does, he break the talent and break it so he can grow up a new talent. And the peak hit it by the hard stone to break it. And so then a new peak grow. And then after that he pull the hair and a new hair comes. This it take from him 150 days.
150 days.
Stay on the mountain.
About 5 months, okay.
For doing that. After that he flies with the new life, and he will live another 40 years for 70 years. Why? He changed because he want to live longer and meaningful life and enjoyable life. This is why we have to change.
Excellent. That's very inspiring story for the necessity of change for survival. Back to the question, what's the most important change in our life?
The most important change for anyone, there are two things. First, we really need to emancipate, free ourselves from ourselves. Because we tend to build around ourselves, around our ego, a lot of illusion, not real things. I am such and such, I am such and such and such. We claim a lot of things. It doesn't correspond with the reality. And we really need to free ourselves so we can be free human beings. If we keep the illusion about ourselves, then we are in the prison to our feeling, to our emotion, to our thought around ourselves. And this is the most fundamental change. That's to free ourselves from our ego.
Excellent.
The second one is to free ourselves from the validation of others.
Okay, that's important. Okay.
Most of us, Dr. Mohammed, we seek validation. Please say good things about me. Please give me a compliment. Please say I am such a great person. We always seek that. And we do the things purposely sometimes to seek validation from others. And the old wisdom said, in order to be happy, you must be independent of good and bad judgment of others, which means you free yourself from the validation of others, and there is no need for others to prove you whether you are good or bad.
Unfortunately, this is deeply rooted in our culture. We seek validation from others.
Yeah, yeah, always, Doctor. Sadly enough, the culture is built about what people say about me. What do you think about me? And really, sometimes people take a proudness by everybody loves them. And I say this is not necessarily. You didn't need everybody to love you. You need first and for most important things to accept yourself the way you are, without seeking validation or approval from other people. Yes. And it can really produce a lot of neurosis and produce a lot of psychological difficulty when we keep seeking approval from other people.
Excellent. It's very, wonderful. We talk a lot about unconscious mind. So what's the importance of unconscious mind for change?
Okay. Unconscious mind, oftentimes, it gives us false reality. Not real things. Falsify our reality. We may see something happen in front of us, but our unconscious mind and the material is stored in our unconscious mind, it tells us totally different things about reality. Let's say, for example, if you witness an accident and people come and ask you, did you see the accident? Say, yes, I saw the accident. Okay, tell us about the accident. And we found out most of the time people, they do not tell the accurate thing about the accident. They tell what's in their unconscious mind. So the unconscious mind oftentimes produces false reality. And that can be counterproductive to any change.
Excellent. That's very beautiful, Dr. Taleb. Now moving to what are the practical steps for change? And since we are, you are facing the human brain, I think before we go to the practical steps of change, we'd like to mention some facts about human brain. I think that's an important introduction.
Yes. The human brain, it has many parts. Okay, but the most important part.
So can you just point your finger and we
the
zoom
most
to
important
the brain?
Is the prefrontal cortex.
Excellent.
Which is the rational part of our mind.
Which is the one the forehead. The
frontal prefrontal cortex, and which this part is the new part of our brain. And when is this mature at the age of 25. Before 25, we didn't have people mature prefrontal cortex.
So this is the prefrontal cortex.
Yeah, this is why we say to people, never get married before 25 years old because you are not mature. So, and the other part is the amygdala, which is inside of the brain, and the amygdala is responsible.
Below.
It's inside here.
Yes.
Inside here. Yeah. And this is the amygdala is in charge of the emotional part of the brain. And there is the cerebellum, which in charge.
Can you just point to the other side?
Here is it. Yeah, here is it. Okay, the cerebellum here is in charge of the movement and what they call it, the old brain store a lot of materials from our ancestor. Okay. So the other fact about the brain, that the brain is 2-pound universe.
2-pound universe.
2-pound universe, and consume about between 20 to 30% from the calories of the body.
Oh, that's too much.
Yeah, so it's almost 1/3 of it. Yes, and the brain loses 85,000 cells every single day, and the travel, the speed between the neurons. The brain consisted of about 80 billion neurons. Okay, and those neurons travel between each other at the speed 268 miles per hour. So these are the facts about our brain. And our brain is an incredible, complicated machine. And the brain, when any action or any thought comes, the cells inside the brain wire and fire together. They form the things. Let's say, for example, you tend to, you have a social phobia.
Mm-hmm.
You are apprehensive standing in front of people, and you want to lecture or give a presentation. The neuron in our brain, what's happened, it changed to establish a pathway in the brain, and this pathway reinforce the social phobia within you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you need to change, you really need to challenge what it has been stored in your brain. You need to reestablish a new neuron pathway to get rid of the social phobia.
Excellent, excellent indeed.
Yeah.
What are the, so this I think will set in stage for introduction for what are the practical steps for change?
Okay. The first practical steps for change, you have to have a clear intention that you say to yourself, I need to change, because the old self is no longer helpful or suitable. You get tired of it. You get tired of old self. Mm-hmm. And you tell yourself, I really need to change. The old self is giving me a lot of pain and agony, and I need to change. So first is you have to have a clear intention. The second one is broadcast the change. Say, I am going to change in such a thing and such. I am going to change. So people around you feel it. Third things, surround yourself by uplifting, positive people. When you need to change, you really need to have people, they encourage you and they support you.
Motivate you.
Motivate you, exactly. Be away from the people that, because there are two kinds of people. There are people bring the best out of you when they sit with you. And there are people, they bring the worst out of you when they sit with you. And you don't need those people. You need to be around the people that they bring the best out of you.
And stay away from the
absolutely
negative.
Run to them, like, because there is an old expression, Dr. Mohammed said, people are three kinds. There are certain people like a food, which you like to have them always. And there are certain people like medication, you take them once in a while. And there are people like disease, you must run away from them.
This is the people, negative people like disease.
Negative people, exactly. And the people, they put you down. You don't need people to put you down, because we as a human being, we have positive side and we have negative side. We all have a bright side and negative side.
Sure.
We don't need people to sit with us and show us the negative side,
Sure.
the dark side. No. We need people to lift us up, encourage us, give us some positivity.
Excellent.
Yeah. So the other one is you need to write down the change. Absolutely, you have to write down the change.
How we write down the change?
You write it and you measure it. Every single day you take a step toward that change. But you write it. Here is about writing, Dr. Mohammed. I really want people to listen to this. Mm-hmm. The study done in Harvard University years and years ago, a class of lawyers graduated, 50 people. They divided them to 25, 25. 25, they asked them, they said, what are your goals and what you want to achieve in your life? And here is a paper and pencil, write them down. So they wrote them down. And the other people, they say, you just graduated, what are your goals? What are your objectives? What are you going to do in your life? So they say it verbally, and they said there is no need to write it down. And they took their answer and they store it. After 30 or 40 years, they came and they check on these people. They found out that the people, they wrote down their goals and objectives, they achieved them more than the people they did not write.
Excellent.
So writing is very essential. And I think it's sadly enough in our Holy Quran there is a surah by the name of Al-Qalam.
Yes.
Very important that you really write things down. Okay. The other thing that you need to be aware of your private self-talk. We have a private self-talk, and normally this is the private self-talk is negative one. Talking to myself, always. Even when we sleep, we talk with ourselves. And when we need to change, we really need to stop this private self-talk.
Especially the negative, especially negative thoughts, especially to the 2 wakeful hours before falling asleep, start, to, to reactivate, to recycle, to bring up negative thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you watch your mind when you are alone, you really need to be a good observant of your mind. When thought comes to you, hey, wait a minute, you talk to yourself. I didn't want you. I did not invite you. But don't fight it, because if you fight it, it will persist. As we said, when you resist, it will persist.
Yes.
Okay. The other thing which about the practical step for change, imagine your mind or yourself like a garden, and you are the gardener. You go to your garden and you cut the dead branches from your trees, and you take the weeds out so you can plant flowers. And this is what you need to do. You go to your mind and take away, throw away all the negative, destructive thoughts.
Excellent. Dr. Taleb, thank you very much. I would like you to conclude by take-home message for our dear viewers.
The take-home message is that when the negative thought comes to your mind, please do not identify with it. Let's say, for example, if the thought tells you, I don't think you are good enough, let it pass. Don't take the thought comes to you literally as a true, because oftentimes the mind gives you false message. And match the things with your reality. If your reality is fine, try not to believe in your thought, because 50% of your thought is not true, is false. This is the most important message. Don't believe every single thought that comes to your mind. And the other thing, make yourself conscious with the unconscious materials in your mind. When the mind brings you unconscious materials, have a moment and ponder about it and think and say, hey, let me conscious about it, so I don't need to repeat it in my unconscious mind. And the other one is that believe in your ability as a human being, and try to control your mind. Don't let your mind control you. When you give the rope to your mind will hang you by the rope.
Mm-hmm.
So the clear message here for you: don't let your mind control you. Be the one in command of your thought and emotion.
Thank you very much, Dr. Taleb. You covered the topic beautifully. You gave it justice. And our theme was why change is hard to make. I think after listening to your fascinating talk, I think it's easy to implement change. Thank you, Dr. Taleb, for being with us. I'm really grateful and appreciating your presence with here and enlightening us about very important topics, especially during this time. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Taleb.
Dr. Mohammed, for having me. Thank you.
Now we are coming to the last segment of our program, Health Benefit. To watch more details about this report, please stay with us.
Many people struggle to get started when they're told they need to improve their eating habits. Here are some tips that can help you achieve sustainable, positive change. Firstly, it's important to take a stepwise approach to making dietary changes. 1 or 2 small changes each week will lead to more sustainable change than trying to make many drastic changes all at once. Identify target areas for change, like times of day that are particularly challenging for you, or situations in which you tend to overeat. This can help you to define those stepwise changes and to come up with an action plan. For example, in week 1, you might decide to replace all of the sweetened beverages in the fridge with unsweetened sparkling water. You might even find creative ways to remind yourself of this change by brushing and flossing your teeth soon after dinner. Additional goals added in the second week might include bringing a homemade lunch to work instead of grabbing a hot dog from the vendor down the street, and replacing the high-calorie, heavily processed snack foods in the home with fresh fruits and crisp vegetables, and maybe a healthy dip. Later on, you might choose to avoid meat on 1 or 2 days of the week and instead eat plant-based proteins like beans or lentils on those days. Behavioral changes alone can be an important part of the stepwise action plan. They can facilitate weight control even without consciously changing the foods you eat. If you like the idea of focusing on behavioral strategies, try signing a contract with yourself stating that for the next month you will only eat when you're seated at a table using cutlery and a plate. This change alone increases the likelihood that the foods you eat will be well thought out rather than impulse foods. A similar behavioral change is the decision to cook at home twice, 3 times, or maybe even every night of the week. The chances of those foods being healthier than what you ate before are pretty high. Sustainable dietary improvements require a realistic, targeted approach that focuses on progressive improvements in your diet without the fear of failure that comes when you try to achieve unrealistic dietary goals. Food is one of the greatest joys of life, and optimizing your health means identifying the foods and eating behaviors that will satisfy you while protecting your long-term health.
Once again, welcome back to Elixir of Life. Now we are coming to the end of our show. Thank you for viewing our episode, and I wish you found it useful and informative. Before I conclude, I would like to thank our great team, starting by Mohammed Al-Qasim, sound, Salim Arabi, cameraman, Mohammed Al-Amshi, Diko, Fahd Lihayan, lighting, and preparation team, Rihab Khalaitit, and our director Mohammed Harar, and presented by me, Dr. Mohammed AlSheef. I wish you a wonderful day, and until next week, I wish you a pleasant week ahead. Goodbye. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.